Okay, starting in 5 seconds.
All right, everyone. Welcome to the Sunday Wisdom Happy Hour, the first edition of a Sunday noon Pacific, but 9 p.m. Europe. That last drink before you go to bed and then start a new day. Good to see everybody. We're reporting live today with all of the teachers from beautiful Healdsburg, and I know all of us are excited when it's nice sunny weather and all of that, and we had that for the last few years. But today we're especially excited because we got rain. Yes. All night long. Yeah. So we've brought rain here to completely dry Northern California. We're really thrilled to be here. But more importantly, we're at Martha's Vineyard, one of our teachers and founders at Upend, Martha Borst. We're at your house. Thank you very much for hosting us. And Martha indeed does have a vineyard, and she indeed does call it Martha's Vineyard, even though this one is in Healdsburg in Sonoma, California. And for Friday's happy hour, it was 4 o'clock, so it was a little more appropriate to have a glass of Martha's Pinot Noir. Today it's just a little too early. It's noon. It's a little too early for wine here. But welcome everybody.
And can I say we also have a master teacher who's on the Zoom who couldn't be here, so he'll be piping in too in the conversation. Right. As we'll invite all of you to engage if you wish.
Right.
Great. Thank you very much. So we're doing a meeting on Zoom, and we're live streaming on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and there may be other platforms, but those are the ones that I'm aware of. And then for those of you who may be watching the recording, Twitter and YouTube, and those of you who might be watching the recording, you obviously you can ask questions, but we just won't be able to answer them because the time will have passed if you're there. But you can obviously anytime send us questions on email. The topic of today's meeting is how to be in pursuit of balance, and we on purpose don't say how to reach balance, how to achieve balance, because that's a big promise. But what we can promise is how to be in pursuit of balance in our lives. And we wanted to start first with the results of the survey that we ran, and it's actually the last several months we've been conducting formal and informal research about how people use wisdoms in their life. And one part of that was a formal survey that we had 120 plus people answer, which we were very surprised about that and very happy to see. And very good answers. People spent several minutes just answering 4 questions, which tells me they were hopefully thinking about the survey themselves. And then people wrote in on free-form text, so that was really good. But we also ran, as many of you know, we sent out a number of emails, and we had a lecture set with about 16 different videos that we talked about different wisdoms and different wisdom skills focused on how to reduce stress in our life. So we had about 39,000 video impressions of those videos. And then we, of course, had thousands of emails and landing pages, clicks, and all of that. So we combined all of that data into a punchline of how do people use wisdom in their life. Any other opening comments or anything that you'd like to say or highlight?
I just would like to thank everybody who responded to the survey, because it really helps us better serve you.
Yeah. No, and it's good to get a snapshot. And there were some surprising things in the survey, and some of the that we expected. So we'll go through it together. And the reason we're going through it together is this is how we teach the class at Upend. Our main class is the opening class, a 90-day class, and you see exactly this. We're not all in the same room. We're on Zoom, but we kind of throw a question on the table. one of the teachers will prepare a presentation and some really wonderful insights, cross-cultural insights. And then the students and the staff and the coaches and the teachers, we debate, discuss, chew on it, ask questions and like that. So it's live and interactive just like today. So maybe Melissa, if you don't mind, and thank you, by the way, for all the staff that's been working really hard at Upend behind the scenes, the faces that you don't normally see, a wonderful team. Some of them are on the screen today. For creating all of this work in the background that happened. So without further ado, maybe Melissa, you can start us with a screen share and a first question. Great. So while that is loading, the first question, can everybody see it?
There are only 4 questions, so they know.
There are only 4 questions.
This isn't
Very
a long.
quick. We'll take a few minutes. The first question is, how often do I tap into wisdom in my life? And frankly, at least I expected the middle bar to be the longest, like sometimes. But I know I answered always. And I don't know if others answered always. How often do I tap into my wisdom? Me? Always. It's a well-known fact. But I was surprised to see that a number of people said often and always. And I was happily surprised, right? If that's really the case, that people tap into their wisdom, and maybe people misread the question and said, "Do you use wisdom generally?" The point of the question was to tease out, like, do I really use wisdom anytime I need it? And I'll tell you, in my life, despite answering always, it's not really the case, right? And it's especially when there's some stressful situation going on. There's some, I'm late for something, or I'm trying to squeeze out something. And then, my son will walk in the room, or my wife, or some, a daughter will call or something like that. And I don't necessarily have my priorities straight all the time. And I want to respond with empathy with my son, especially if it's the 4th time that I've waved him off the Zoom screen, right? And I go on mute and shut off the camera and say, Donnie, you can't do this. Well, that's not really the wisdom, right? Because he needs me in that moment. Yeah. So later then I say, well, did I really weigh the importance of this internal Zoom call to he's really struggling with his homework and just needs just a little bit of empathy and compassion and acknowledgement. Not that I have to help him right when he needs me, but he just needs to be acknowledged. And those are the moments that I realize, okay, I'm not really in line with my values, and I'm not really tapping into my wisdom at that moment. But I see here that a number of people do, and I think that's a good thing.
I think as we go through this survey, too, the people are listening, check and see if your answers would be the same as what have shown up on this survey too. Where are you, with your experience of wisdom? Yeah,
and we did make the survey anonymous. It was interesting that over 50 people out of the 120 plus that answered actually gave their email address at the bottom of the survey, which of course we're going to keep it anonymous. We won't scroll to that question, but it was. I was happy to see that, right? That people are engaging at that level and want to see the results. We can go to the next question. The second question had to do with basically are wisdom skills teachable to any ordinary adult, and we put on purpose any ordinary adult, meaning are wisdom skills accessible and available and can be taught to anybody. And the overwhelming answer is strongly agree or agree. And we took the opportunity to define what we mean by wisdom skill, right? It's because what we talk about at Upend is upgrading your wisdom skills, refreshing your wisdom skills. We all have wisdom skills, of course, but it's about, are they keeping up with the times, right? We had the COVID and George Floyd and Ukraine and shootings and a lot of different things, working from home, a lot of different changes in our lives. And did my wisdom skills keep up with the times? Is my de-stressing skill keep up with the times? My noticing skill? Is my skills of courage in this different environment? How are they? And the answer to the question is, can they be taught? Everybody agrees, except for the people probably who answered always, because they don't need them taught because they already always use all of their wisdom skills 24/7 in any area of life. Any comments or questions here? Anything surprising?
I mean, I teach meditation and somatic body work, and it's easy to meditate when you have a perfect environment, right?
Mhm.
So a lot of these, what we're talking about is actually how do you apply your wisdom skills to when things are difficult in your
Right.
life,
Yeah.
not just easy.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, I'm really a nice guy when things are going well.
That's very wise.
I'm very wise. I'm super nice. I have time.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
gentle. I have empathy. I have all of these things. But
Yeah.
just don't get me when I'm late on a
I'm all
deadline.
that in traffic.
That's right.
But
Like
I-
that, right? So you listen to Dalai Lama and, and you kick the dog on the way out of the house because you're late and he's in the way and you honk at everybody, get out of your way. And
Yeah.
I think the important thing is, and the thing that was so heartening for me with the survey was the awareness of wisdom and the acknowledgement that that's what you're seeking or wanting to scale up. I think that's very, very heartening and hopeful. And the thing to remember, like you're talking about, we can't do it all the time normally. So the issue is like, how quickly do we course correct? How quickly do we acknowledge and reset ourselves? So,
Yeah, I would say you're right there, Patricia, in the sense of what was encouraging about the survey was that there was an awareness that wisdom does exist
yeah.
and that people had some understanding about wisdom and also some appreciation for it. And one of the aspects we're going to get into, of course, is, okay, great, how would you like to upgrade those wisdom skills, those wisdom understandings?
Right.
to keep up with the times or to keep up with the changes.
And
that are
changes
out
and
there.
uncertainty, exactly.
So this survey result is a little different than the result from academic wisdom surveys, because when they talk about, and there's the Berlin School of Wisdom and the San Diego and
Right.
Philadelphia and a variety of different wisdom scales where academics measure wisdom. And the prevailing theme is when they ask people about who has wisdom, the respondents often point to, they say, well, kind of a prerequisite for wisdom, you need to be older and well experienced in life and successful. And so that to me, the disheartening part about that general population survey is that like wisdom is not accessible to everyone. And I was happy to see this result where people say, well, these skills are teachable to anyone and everyone at every stage of life. So we can go to the next question.
Most people don't think that wisdom is a skill. And so what we've succeeded in doing is identifying those traits or characteristics that help people thrive in their life, and they can be learned and used wisely. Because most people don't think of wisdom as a skill that can be developed, but yet it really is.
Great. If there are questions, please put them in chat, or if it's on live, put it on chat and our staff will send them to us and I'll check the chat button here. So we asked people specifically which wisdom skills would they like to have more in their life. What came out on top was balance, but also a number of others, right? Discipline, patience. One that was a little surprising to me was healthy boundaries, because we asked, this is a big list, there's 25 different options here. And forgiveness came up pretty high, which I was really surprised about. That forgiveness. So I don't know if people want forgiveness in their life so that they can forgive somebody about something, or if they want somebody who did something wrong to them to ask for forgiveness. But there
It
is,
go both ways.
or it probably goes both ways, right? And you have some experience in this. I know in your book you write about the 4 sacred gifts,
Right.
and one of them is forgiveness. And I know in one of the classes when you presented the results from your book and the work from your book, forgiveness was actually something that most people selected.
Yes, very much. People want to, they know there's an innate sense that if I could forgive it, I wouldn't put all this energy into what did or didn't happen, that I would have more energy to be and do what it is that's calling me now. And so I think it's exciting to see that for me, and that we can really delve into it deeper of what forgiveness is not and what it is, so that people can really, propel themselves to that freedom that comes with it.
And then in the middle of the pack here were, courage and reciprocity and a number of others. But for me, the most interesting piece was at the bottom of the pack.
Yes.
And in some sense, if you look at if you look at the ancient wisdom traditions and indigenous wisdom traditions, exactly the things that are on the bottom of the pack are there's a lot of focus on them here. So it's possible that when people read the question, they interpreted it, how often do I tap into these wisdom skills in my life, or how often would I like to have more of these wisdom skills in my life?
Right.
That, for example, reflection came at the bottom.
Right.
So it's one possibility to be gracious is that people said, I already have a lot of reflection in my life, therefore I don't need more of it. But if you consult the ancient wisdom traditions, it's exactly reflection, intuition, guidance, things that are at the bottom of the scale where a lot of the emphasis is in wisdom traditions. And I think this is something to talk about. And we joke internally, when we sell courses, we'll talk about what people want at the top, like things people want to have, right? I want to have balance. I want to have discipline. I want to have forgiveness. But then when we get in the class, we'll teach the things that people need, right? Which is reflection, intuition, and guidance. And
those aren't separate, because by those things is what allows you to have the discipline, the happiness, the forgiveness. So they're interconnected, but it is interesting to see them weighted this way in their responses.
I think there's some insight there for people to look at. And if you don't remember how you answered, you can take the survey now. It's still live, and see the results and mark your answers.
It's kind of funny that
by the way, the
people
academic
want the
wisdom
result, they just don't want to go through the process to get it.
Yeah, can we fast forward through this?
That's right.
But the journey is part of it.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons we designed the class to be 90 days, because neuroscience teaches us, together with ancient and indigenous wisdoms, that it takes at least 90 days to form a new habit, and it takes 90 days to break an old habit. So if we're stuck in automatic stimulus response or things that we used to do that we now even clearly see are no longer working for us, we still do them because the neural pathways are wired that way. And to rewire them, it's very hard to get it done in less than 90 days, and it takes practice. Now we don't teach the class every day of the 90 days. We just have 3 short Zoom meetings, and then a break for a month, and then 3 short Zoom meetings, and another at the third month, and then in between there's one-on-one time with coaches who help people with accountability, right, and with customization, right. One of the promises of our class is you pick your top 3 wisdom skills that you want to work on from this list of, here we have 25, in class we cover more. But the idea is you figure out what's most important to you, what you think will give you the best results, and then focus on refreshing and really building those skills to the point where they're daily practices and habits. And same with embodiment, and same with all the different things that we're talking about. Okay. And then the last question is probably the most interesting, which is, which area of your life would you like to have? If you work on your wisdom skills, where would you like to have the impact of the wisdom skills? Which part of your life? So you can scroll down to the chart here. Thank you, Melissa. And in the chart, the way we asked the question is with kind of grade. So we wanted to give almost like a scale of 1 to 5. Like 0 is no, I don't need any of this in my life. I'm fine. Thank you very much. The next level is I'd like to hear more. The next level is I'd like to learn more, right? And the next level is I'd really like to master this. I'd like to master wisdom skills so that they can have an impact in this area of my life. And interesting piece, if you sort by the back, it's really enjoyment of life that came up for people the most.
That's great.
And that's really great. It's because this is all about the joy, right? The whole point of at the end of the day, it's why are you doing these? Why are you focusing on wisdom skills? Well, not to make more money or to have, some specific result happen. Maybe that's the interim step, but the end step is to have more enjoyment in my life.
Right.
And what I love about our classes is that when people's light bulb goes off and says, I thought I needed to have these things to have joy in my life, when in fact I can create joy in my life today, right? As it sits and as it shows up with the resources I already have. And that's one of the beautiful things about ancient wisdom teachings is, but it's easy to dismiss them. Part of the problem, they've been so talked about as a fad, right? Mindfulness, it's everywhere. You open up a soup can and there's mindfulness. coming at you from the milk carton is teaching you how to be mindful, and all of this, and it cheapens sometimes the concept of what it really means to be mindful, or gratitude, right? Or love, right? Love is on every billboard. Customers are gonna love you if you sell them this cloud solution. Like, okay, I never experienced love from a cloud internet solution, right? I just didn't, but I did in relationships with people.
Well, stay open to it anyway.
Right.
I'll stay open to it. It's not impossible.
But I do like that, like being part of, we all belong to this one hoop of life, coming from an indigenous perspective. And that's a joyful thing. And it doesn't mean you don't have challenges, but that's what I love when we're all together bringing the different perspectives and different traditions and wisdoms, is that it reminds people of what's inside them, or they get curious and look and find that within their own experience or ancestors' experience, this is there. So it is meant to be joyful to be alive.
And I think that recognition of oneness and experience of it deepens our sense of belonging, because we do belong to everything.
Yeah.
And that's something we miss, and it's good to remind ourselves.
Yeah, and there's a level of playfulness that happens in this particular course in the opening. That playfulness is, of course, very important. As kids grow, one of the most important growing features is their development through play, both from a cognitive level, but also a physical level. Play is very important, and wisdom, and discussing and learning about more of your wisdom skills and developing those involves play as well. So
It doesn't have to be hard work.
No, exactly.
It really can be fun. It can be something that you enjoy,
Yeah.
and really to tap into your passion
Mhm.
and what excites you and what thrills you and what drives you and what gets you up in the morning.
Yep.
This
Yeah.
doesn't have to be hard work. But I think sometimes people think that learning is, I'm going to be drudgery, it's going to be hard work,
Right.
when in fact
No.
it can be a joyful process.
Yeah.
Not just that, but for me also, I thought of wisdom skills in a way, and upgrading is kind of an incremental process, right? So I'll invest, like, what's the return on investment? I'm going to invest 5 hours, I'm going to increase my joy by 3.7%. It's my engineering mind.
I know, it's good.
What happened, in fact, is the transformation of the quality of my life, right? I did not expect that, as I absolutely did not expect. And I also didn't expect it for people who've gone through the class, who've given us fantastic feedback. We've run 2 classes now. Absolutely transformational in terms of the daily quality of life.
Yeah.
Not incremental, but like, wow, I literally didn't see that. Like, we have one of the things we talk about is, finding ways to connect with your ancestral wisdom.
Right.
And your own personal ancestral wisdom, even if you don't have ancestry.com and you don't know exactly where your genes came from, where your last name came from, where your parents came from, but just tapping into that wisdom and calling in that wisdom for important decisions in life, absolutely transformational and calming, and a whole new set of skills that I just thought I could run a few seconds faster on my mile run. But it's not that. It's like, okay, I didn't know I could jump, right? I didn't know I could swim. I didn't know I could do all these other things. It just never popped in my mind until we kind of, in a group setting and sharing with students and staff and teachers, opened up these new avenues.
And all of that information is in every single cell of your body.
Yeah.
It's in our DNA. Our ancestors are in our DNA. They're inside us already.
Mhm.
So it's a matter of being able to connect with that in a way that awakens our thinking, awakens our emotions, awakens our bodies, our physical and our spiritual, our higher selves, and connects us with all of that. I think that's the
And
exciting part of
Martha,
this.
one of the things that you do in the class is that you get people into purpose and vision in a really, really, really deep way. And it just so happens that there's a study that just finished, a Harvard study, 84-year-old study, the longest study that they've done in psychiatry and social psychiatry. The bottom line thing that people wanted was happiness in life. And one of the key things that came out of it is don't let go of the things you love. Don't let go of the things that you're passionate about. the things that are your purpose. And that's what you've been teaching us a lot. And that's one of the wisdom skills that we've been developing a lot, is the key to that kind of happiness. And, you know, of course, other things called nurturing relationship and accepting other people and not caring so much of what people think of you, which is one of the keys. But the thing that has been showing up so over and over and in our work together is the work that you've been doing with people about purpose and finding what makes you tick, finding your joy, finding your joy spot, your sweet spot. And I think that's what really stuck out to me in that study and in what we're doing in this up-in classes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exciting. And I think also, Ray, I want to acknowledge you and the work that you do in this course in showing people how their power of interpretation, how we interpret ourselves, how we interpret life. In other words, how we see it, the importance or value we give to certain things, and the power we have to direct and actually design our own life. And how that's in our hands. And you do a brilliant job of presenting that. It's wonderful. Yeah.
And in this last 2 classes, we've literally had people from all walks of life and from so many different continents. You know, I kind of expected, you know, people in the States, because most of us are here, but we had people from Europe, people from Africa, people from Asia, people from South America. Right, that chimed in, and just sharing those perspectives. And you know, when one of you would mention an indigenous teaching or an ancient wisdom teaching, you can see 50 heads on the screen going, yeah, it's like, okay, we got something here. Talk about cross-cultural, and it's live and it's there, and then people share their experiences. And that these kinds of teachings, what I always thought, you know, they teach you how to, like, who's the audience, who's the right audience. And we've had audience literally from college students to people with, you know, whatever PhDs and senior executives and everybody in between, you know, every color, shape, size, design, and background that you can imagine. And there was value for everybody. That somebody got, you know, maybe some things flew over people's heads and other things were maybe too easy for some of the other folks. But on the whole, the class touched everybody in a good way. And what people really appreciated, which I was a little surprised, we weren't really focused on this. But in the feedback at the end of the class, what people talked about is the positivity, that they came to class, that they didn't have to watch some boring videos, no matter who, or even an exciting video, but it's not a video, it's a discussion, it's talking. And they just said, I was just really running to class, and we had everybody stay through, right? It's, you know, the people who started, they finished after 90 days, very busy people, right? With kids and jobs and everything else. But they ran to class because it was just like one place where there was easygoing. It's positive. It's fun. It's exciting. It's some new insight that they did. And we didn't always talk about easy topics, right? We went everywhere, right? This isn't kind of a happy-go-lucky, feel-good kind of rah-rah-rah class. It's talking about life as it is, and then, you know, and then what do we do with it? Maybe you can address some of that with your with the work with embodiment, about not just finding, you know, goodness in our bodies, but like being okay with whatever is going on, right? And being able to hold the entirety of our life as it shows up.
I mean, we do have both. We have, you know, intrinsically ease and relaxation and openness that actually, you know, intrinsically, the Buddhists say we have Buddha nature, basic goodness intrinsically. So wisdom isn't always something, I mean, it is a learnable skill, but it's also within us that we have to bring out and uncover. But with the body work, you know, we get into these things that, you know, a lot of it is actually learning how to just hold our own experience and relate to it fully, whether it's the good stuff or the bad stuff, stress, tension, emotional pain, whatever we're holding, we can actually make a relationship with it, which means that we don't have to keep struggling. And in that in itself creates goodness and openness and ease and workability, I'd say.
And kind of a reality, like this is how life actually is, right? A lot of the things that you know, there's a lot of rah-rah-rah, feel-good, motivational speech kind of things, and And those things are great, but then I shut off that video and like my life is still here, and
Yes.
and it has all the stuff in it, right? It has everything that's there. This person is sick, and this person is mad, and this person is this, and just in my own. And I haven't even left the bedroom.
Yeah.
Well, that's what makes it wonderful in being together, is because we hold each other, I feel like, with the grace and space to be as fully present, to be vulnerable, to have it all together, and to have all of that as well. I'm not together. And we're able to create that because that's real. And so then people can come here and feel safe just as we do with each other. And we have, and that's what better thing but to learn and grow every day and to be part of community and make a difference. And those aren't just buzzwords. This is what really it's about. And then you can feel that you're part of this amazing energy in life that's so needed now.
That was kind of cute what you did,
Well, I love
Anita,
that.
with your hair there. That was kind of cute what you did with your hair there. So does that
Now you know, I actually look at the morning.
does that mean that we have to get okay with our bad hair days or something?
Yeah, and if you don't have any hair, that's okay too. Go ahead, Martha was
I
thinking.
was going to say what I so appreciate about the two of you, Anita and Patricia, is that you bring the indigenous wisdom and you share some of the ancient wisdom and thinking and experience that you're so, your depth and breadth of knowledge is phenomenal, and reconnecting us to the earth, reconnecting us to the seasons and the four directions and the things that our busy lives lose track of. And it really has brought a richness to my life in just being with you and the exercises you've taken us through. It's been absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
Added a real depth to my life.
Thank you.
Yeah,
you.
I would second on that, and I would say that the difference here with the teaching or the upskilling with Upend is that we're using time-tested, century-old techniques that have been used in situations that are very similar today: the war, pestilence, fires, you name it.
All the stuff in the Bible, right?
Yeah. And these
Plagues.
are time-tested techniques and skills that have been used to help those in the past get through, and get through not only from a place of survival, but thriving through those. And that's what's really relevant here. And that's what brings also the enjoyment in that process, that you're developing these things that your ancestors were also using to get through life.
That's right.
And make it
And
through life.
there isn't a week that goes by that there isn't some new neuroscience study, and I follow these things.
Yes, I love it.
Right, with my work with the brain medical device companies and all that. So I see all of this research and says fMRI research, right? They put somebody in the scanner and 3 Tesla scanner, and they asked all these questions, and then they repeated it 60 times, and then they show that people who have higher gratitude in their life also experience higher happiness. I was like, well, yeah, but the indigenous people have been telling us this for 60,000 years, right? Gratitude equals happiness, right? But of course, then you'll always get some Silicon Valley dude who publishes a book and builds a company to say gratitude equals happiness. I just figured this out yesterday. Let me sell you my hack. I'm like, okay, good to know.
I really
thing that
believe
really
that
stuck out for me, Jeremy,
neuroscience and science.
that you
Sorry,
brought
there's a
to
little
us.
bit of delay.
Jeremy, one of the things that stuck out to me that you brought to us
Go ahead.
is the ability to laugh at ourselves a little bit more. I think in the world we take ourselves far too seriously. I know I speak for myself. I take myself sometimes far too seriously, and I sometimes have to remember to get the humor of it all, and even just to laugh. And just laughing in and of itself increases your endorphins and brings happiness to your life. And I think that is one of the really cool things that came out of some of the work we did a few weeks ago that you brought to us. I think that was so cool. So maybe you can speak a little bit about that too. How to lighten our lives a little bit.
Right. That light heart. Develop that light heart. Open up that light heart. And you know, another thing that we'll go into a little bit more in the opening, in the course, is how to develop that otter energy. You know how otters are
I
always
love
playing with each other, but that's also a means of survival as well. But they're happy, they're flopping around, they're playing with each other, and then they also survive by catching those fish and also navigating their predators, but always in play. There's always play going on. So there'll be more of that we'll bring into the workshop.
And Patricia, you were going to say,
Yes.
Yeah, many indigenous people, myself included, believe that neuroscience, the quantum physics, all the science of today is really providing a way for the West to believe, to understand what traditional people have understood for thousands of years. And I also look at the cross-cultural as best practices that humanity has come forth with. And so that's what's important for us to share too. Like, what are some of the best practices that have worked for thousands, and for me personally to develop and to dedicate my life to it was, I want to know that.
I think I have a new class for us, Jeremy. You know how there's this thing about othering, right? Othering others, and it's ugly and all of this, and it's, you don't belong, and we see it in politics and divisiveness and all of that. So a new class can be from othering to ordering. And if you're Bosnian, it sounds the same, because you would say from ordering to ordering.
And then you belong.
Right. That's
great.
unity, oneness.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
But so maybe
This
we
is probably a
should-
good place to wrap it up, unless there are questions or comments. I'm checking the chat
Well,
here.
I think it's also,
Please.
since we were talking about balance,
Yes.
that this is what all of this ends up creating in our lives. All the different wisdoms that will bring a balance to our lives. And that's a place of central power. It's like being on a seesaw. When you're on one end of the seesaw, it feels like you have power, but you don't. You have power when you're in the middle of the seesaw and you can move the board either way. You have balance, and that's what we're striving for, and that's really core to the work that we do.
Right.
Yeah.
Great. So the invitation to everyone is to join us for our next opening class, third in a row. It starts on September 29th, Thursday. So it's Thursday and Friday afternoons, and on Zoom, 3.5 hours. And then Saturday morning, also 3.5 hours. Then we have incredible coaches that we didn't talk about today, that professional, trained, certified coaches that work alongside us, but they work with students one-on-one. So you develop your own wisdom map and your own plan and your own things you want to focus on, and then have some accountability and support throughout the 90 days. So that's the invitation. Please go to upend.com and look for the opening class. Today at 11:59, we're closing the enrollment at a discounted rate of $9.95, Pacific time. So that we give people time to do it, and then we'll revert back to regular price. But we're looking forward to seeing you all in class.
Please come and bring your questions. We're all here to be able to interact with you is what we want to do. So please come, have that personal interaction with any one of us or all of us, whatever works for you.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good seeing you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Be well.
Bye.
I love this music.
It reminds
too.
me of like a 50s television.
That's it.